Within GOLDesp, all functions can be accessed starting from the home screen. In order to write a discrepancy against a particular aircraft or piece of equipment, we begin by clicking on Work Recording and then clicking on Create Work Order. First, we must select the serial number of the item we would like to write the discrepancy against. Once we have that piece of information, we can select from the different work types available. We also have the option to choose a default work order. A default work order is a template that contains most of the information necessary in order to create a particular work order. Once we have our default work order loaded on the screen, we can key in a few more pieces of information that will help us get our work order created. Now that we have our work order open, any technician assigned to this particular work center can go out and begin working on this work order. Taking a look at the work order, there are a few things that are available. You can see if there are any notifications, such as pending install and remove transactions or any engineering orders that are currently issued against this particular aircraft. Within the steps, we have different default processes that can be added to a particular work order. These processes contain the steps that are necessary for a technician to complete their assigned task. We can link work orders that are related to this particular work order. We can view any install and remove transactions that have occurred within this work order. We can document any labor hours. And we can create part requests and view any part requests that have been created against this particular work order. If we have any child work orders created against this parent, we will see it, or if this is a child work order, we would see the parent. And there are different areas that we can view under the other sections. And the related links contain links that will take us to different areas of the aircraft itself. In the last updated section, we can see who created this work order and when they did it, and we can also see who the last person to make any changes was and when that change was created. And in the attachment sections, we can upload any pictures of damage or any reports associated with this particular work order. Now, if I wanted to find any open work orders against a particular aircraft or work center, I can simply go over and click on Work Order Desktop. This brings me to the work order inquiry screen. From here, if I wanted to find the work order that I had just created, I can go ahead and select my open status and then come down and find work orders that have been created today. I'll go ahead and select today's date, click on search, and now I can see all the work orders that were created today. I can tell that this is the last work order because it ends in 77, and that would be the one that I just made. Another option I have when using the work order inquiry screen, if I wanted to find all the open work orders against a particular work center, I can simply remove the date and then come back up and use the search criteria for work center. If I wanted to find every work order against work center SP191, I can type that in, click on search, and there are my results. One of the benefits of having these GOLDesp Web 2.0 screens is the ability to save my search for later use. So in this instance, I will frequently try to find all the open work orders against a particular work center. So at this point, I'll click on Save and type in Workload Report, and I can click on Save. Anytime I return to my work order inquiry screen, I can click on Load and select from any of the available queries that I have saved. If I'm looking for work orders against a specific aircraft, I have a few different options. I can start by coming over to Aircraft Data and then clicking on the Aircraft Status Board. From the Aircraft Status Board, I can then select the aircraft that I would like to find and click on Search. The Aircraft Status Board comes with hyperlinked sections. These hyperlinks relate to work orders. For example, this hyperlink will lead me to all the open work orders associated with this aircraft. If I click the hyperlink, it brings me back to the work order inquiry screen, but it goes ahead and fills out all my search criteria for me in order to bring up every open work order. I can also use the aircraft status board to go to the item maintenance screen. From here, I can use this link to find all the open work orders. Again, this sends me back to my work order inquiry screen with specific search criteria already filled out. And I can use my related links to show me all work orders. This also brings me back to the work order inquiry screen and runs a search based on every single work order ever created against this aircraft, regardless of status. From the work order maintenance screen, the information that each user is able to view or modify is determined by the different security rules associated with their individual account. Now, in the example we have on the screen, if I go to the steps, I can bring the steps up. We can see that they're in an unopened status. If I open the steps, you can see that at this point I can begin adding different work centers, and I can select from my available choices, click on save. Because I have the right authorizations, I can make changes to this particular work step. But I am not able to modify the number of signatures required in order to satisfy this work step. In order to demonstrate this, I will add in a blank work step. And for this example, I will say that this work step is for quality assurance to witness torques. As I go down the fields, I will select the number of signatures required in order to satisfy this work step. I'll select 2 signatures that are required. So at this time, I'm able to modify the name field, and here I can say that the first signature should be the QA technician, and the second one should be the QA supervisor. Now, one of the really powerful tools within the work step is the ability to adjust the requirements. So as I click on the requirements, I'll select the drop-down, and now I can also say that the signature for the QA tech requires someone with the E2345 certification. So I'll go ahead and populate that field, and then I'll say that the second signatures require someone with the M4564 certification. This brings Gold's e-certifications into play. I'll go ahead and save my step with the information I just put in. So by creating these signatures with a specific requirement, when I go in and select the first signature, if I try to sign off that first signature with a user account that does not have the proper certification with it, the system will go ahead and return an error. So I'll go ahead and put in the password, select the status to pass, and save my information. Now, because that particular user does not have the proper certification, my save error appears, e-certification validation failed, because I have an invalid user authorization. Now, if I attempt to do the same thing with a proper user account that does have the correct certification, we will see that the certification allows me to sign off this work step successfully. Now, the e-certification errors can come up, one, if the user does not have the certification, if a validity period has been set and the user happens to be expired. From the work order, it's very simple to remove parts that have been installed on the aircraft. I can simply come here and add a install or remove record. If I click on remove, I can select the part that I would like to remove. Because I have the part filled in, the system will show me the 2 serialized parts that I have installed on this particular aircraft. By selecting one, I can change its condition code, and I can remove it by clicking process. This part has now been removed from the structure of this aircraft. Because this part has been removed, I need a replacement, and to do this, I can click on Part Request, and at this point, I simply select the quantity I need and the reason why I'm removing it. Click on Finish, and now we can go back to the work order and see that our part request shows up in an unauthorized status. Again, this is determined by the different business rules, but this means that someone has to come in now and authorize that part request. And if we look in the install and remove section, you can also see the remove part there, and here is the part number of the item that was removed and the serial number. Another feature available within the work order is the ability to assign the work order to a specific technician. To do this, I can scroll down to the bottom of the job data section and then select from any of the available users assigned to this work center. In this example, I choose myself, click on Save, and now if I were to search for work orders, I can search by work orders that have been assigned to me. Now, once we're ready to close the work order, the information required to close a work order is generally determined by your business practices and the business rules associated in GOLDesp. In this example, I will go to the Reliability Sign-Off tab, and in this section, I will go ahead and select the appropriate work unit code. So there's a work unit code for the aircraft that I'm using, and then I can go ahead and choose from the drop-down menu for the system code. I'll go ahead and use airframe. Subsystem code, only one available, I will use general. I'll look at the symptom codes. I can use a nice feature here which allows me to filter the different codes that are available. And then I can go ahead and select the appropriate AJF code. I can keep going down. I'll come down to the fault code, click on the drop-down menu, and select from my vibrations. I can come down to the work done code, say we repaired it, and put my text in the work done field. I will also say I repaired it. I can come down, and at this point I can select my corrected by. The number of sign-off authorizations required will be determined by your business rules. In this particular work order, I just need one signature. I'll put in my username and password. And if my authorizations are correct, I can click on Save, and this work order will be closed.